Hello everyone, welcome to the another video on Spring Cloud Config. So far what we have done is we learned how to store a client application properties on the config server and also how client application can use these properties. Also we learned how different way we can access the properties on the config server, like one of them is a database. Then we also have learned that how to access the git private properties, then public git properties also how we can access. Also we learned that how we can access properties from the class path on also the file system. So these all we learn, but in this video what we want to concentrate is we want to update these properties that we stored on the config server for the client. And when we update these properties, we want these property updates to be reflected on the client applications. So how this mechanism work, we will try to understand in this video. We will use git for storing our properties, and we will update this property in the git, and client application should have reflection of these changes. So we will learn how we can do that. There are multiple options available, and one of them is using the actuator refresh. We will use this simpler approach in this video, and later on we will also learn other options as well. So what we will do is we'll go to config server first, and in the POM what I have done is I have added the actuator dependency, that is org spring framework and spring boot starter actuator. This is the first change we need to make in the POM file. After that we'll go to application.yaml of the spring config server and add some management related properties here, like management endpoint web expose and include. I want to expose few endpoints that actuator provides, that is I will add health, info and the refresh, and I am enabling info environment enable to true. This is the first change I will make, and I'll tell you why I will make during the demo. Then I will add few more information regarding the info that I want to display. So that is info applications encoding UTF version 1 Java 17, and this is my Spring config server and native git profile, right, that we are using. So I will use this. Now once I add this much information and when I start the config server, let us see what happens. We'll go to the browser and access actuator endpoints. So localhost 8071 and actuators. Here I have got a health, info and the refresh endpoint got enabled. So here let us go again to the info endpoint. So whatever I have added the environment related information I can see here, like Spring config server profile git version 1, then some other information. This is just to demonstrate that what we did in the application server, config application server, right? Here I enable these endpoints, then enable the info. So when I enable the info, I can add some environment property and I can display this information. Similar changes I also have done into the client applications. So first we will do for flight service. In the flight service I have added actuator dependency. Then I did go into the Git, and here I also have updated properties for management endpoint exposure for health info refresh, then enable environment related property for the info, and added some information for the info that I want to display. So let me go back again to application. I'll start both the application and we will see how does it work. So the client application started, config server started, and I will start also the client application again. Again, let us access application actuator and also environment properties. So on my client application, that is flight service, the actuator info and other path that we have exposed we can see here, and I also can see this environment property that I have added for the client application. So now my idea is we want to update these and information, and this should get reflected into the client application. And how does it work? We'll try to see. Let me first update values in Git. So here I'll add it and update to the version 2. Okay, and commit these changes. Now I'll go to application for config server 8071 and flight service and dev. Okay, and also the actuator information for the client that we have added. So here, yes, this, if you see here for the dev application properties, I can see the version change that happens. But if I go here and I will try to access the actuator information here on the client application, that is a flight service, do I see these changes? I don't see that changes has been reflected. So how do we allow these changes to get reflected here? That we want to understand. For this, if you remember, we have added some properties in the application properties. So here we added the management related property and actuator. We expose few endpoint, and one of them is info and refresh. So using the refresh, we can refresh the client application properties. So what we will do is we will go to the Postman and try to update that. So the way that we can do is 8101, that is the flight service, and here it is taking post request, and when we update here, this gets updated. Now let's go back again in the browser and try to check it. Let's fetch information for the, see here now our value got updated. Whatever value we updated into the config server flight service, here we updated to the version v2 and the same value got updated in the client application again. So this is how we can update the values and the property will get automatically updated. Behind the scene, I also updated the property value and dependency changes for the ticket service, passenger service. I have added the dependency for the actuator and also for the ticket service. I do have added the dependency for the actuator, and in the Git I also have updated a passenger service and the ticket service details. So in the passenger service I have added actuator management related dependence property. I also have added the refresh, expose the port endpoint for the refresh, and also have added the info related properties. Similar changes I did update for the ticket service again, and in all the cases I am using a dev profile. If I go here and check for, here I am using the dev profile for the passenger service and the similar for this. So just I have updated for the dev profile. Okay, and then I do have restarted all these microservices, passenger flight service, passenger service and the ticket service. So let's go to the browser and see all the changes that got reflected here. So my passenger service, I can see that I can see the version 2, and also on the ticket service again I can see the version 2. Okay, now I will go back again into the passenger service, all the service I will, and update the properties. So I'll change it to the version 3. Again, if I go to the localhost 8071 flight service, so I see version 3 here. Okay, similarly for passenger service I see version 3, and same for the ticket service. So here I see that, but if I check here, let me just do it for the 1, I still see a version 2. Similarly I can check for the other as well, but let us not do that, and let us try to update in a refresh endpoint and see those changes. So I'll go to 8101, that is a flight service. I see change, and 8202, that is a passenger service. 8301, this is a ticket service. Again let us go back to the browser and see the changes got reflected or not. So I see the version 3 here. Again let us go to the passenger service. I see version 3 here for the passenger service, and also in a ticket service again, I can see the version 3. So this is how we can update a property values. In this video we have seen that how we can update the config server properties, and then we also have seen that how these property change we can reflect into the client application using the actuator refresh endpoint. This is okay that we are able to update it, but if you check what happens if we have got a like 50 or 100 microservices running in your suite, and if you have to update all these properties manually one by one by using the refresh actuator refresh, then it is going to be very cumbersome. Spring provides another option with help of Spring Cloud Bus and Spring Service Bus, and also we can add some queuing mechanism like RabbitMQ or Kafka, and allow a property chain to get reflected with one single click. This option we will explore in another video. For now, thank you for watching this video.